I spotted her before I even cut the engine. She was standing near the edge of the crowd, tight black dress hugging every curve, arms crossed, giving me that look. That same look she used to throw around campus like confetti. Back then, guys would lose their minds trying to get a minute of her attention. And now, years later, there she was, eyeing me like she just rediscovered something valuable. She walked up slow while I was still sitting in my car, the hood ticking from the heat of the engine. "Mark," she said, dragging the word like it tasted familiar. "You've really changed. I used to think about you sometimes. You know, after everything." I looked at her dead on. No emotion, no fake politeness. "My heart's still with Emily," I said flatly. "That hasn't changed." Her smile twitched. She didn't say anything else. Just turned and walked off like the whole thing hadn't happened. And just like that, I was back in my head. Back to where it all started. Because before the money, before the cars, before I built a name for myself, I was just a guy who thought he had it all figured out. I dropped out of college not because I was failing, but because I thought building a life with Emily was more important. We'd been together since freshman year. Met in the campus library over a dumb fight for the same textbook. She laughed first. I never stood a chance after that. We clicked fast. Like we'd known each other before this life even started. Study dates turned into real dates. Real dates turned into shared dreams. We'd talk about opening a small car lot one day, nothing fancy, just clean rides, fair prices. I was always a gearhead, and she supported it. Never mocked it. That mattered to me. At the same time, my best friend Alex and I were already flipping used cars out of his uncle's garage. It was side hustle stuff back then, Craigslist finds, weekend detailing jobs, minor bodywork. But it had potential. And Alex? He was the kind of guy you go to war with. Loyal. Sharp. He knew betrayal too in his own way. That's why we clicked. Emily believed in it. She said, "I see you doing big things with this." And for a while, that belief fueled me harder than any gas pedal ever could. And then there was my younger brother, Daniel. Quiet but steady. The kind of guy who doesn't say much, but when he does, it hits. He wasn't flashy like me or slick like Alex, but he had heart, and he had my back. Still does. Life felt aligned. I had my girl, my best friend, my brother, and a small but promising hustle. I'd hit the streets at night, racing for fun, for adrenaline, for that second of silence right before the light turned green. Street racing wasn't about money, not then. It was about control. About proving you still existed when the world tried to box you in. Every Friday night, we'd pull up to the old mill road where the pavement was cracked and the cops stopped caring. Headlights in the dark, engines humming like restrained beasts, eyes watching from shadows. That was church for me. Emily knew about it. She never liked it, but she didn't try to stop me either. She said, "Just don't die before we buy that house with the white porch." I'd laugh. Tell her I'd build her a damn mansion if she stuck around long enough. Funny how fast life can shift from promising to poisonous. That night with the girl from the past, her showing up, trying to slide back into my world. It reminded me of the man I used to be. The one who still held on. Who still loved Emily like she hadn't ripped everything out from under me. But I'm not that guy anymore. You want to know what happened? What turned me from someone chasing the dream to someone building his own empire brick by brick, engine by engine? Then sit back. Because it started on a regular Thursday night. No warning. No thunder. Just Emily, and a sentence that broke me clean in half. It was a Thursday evening, quiet and slow. Emily had made dinner, her usual lasagna, and we were sitting across from each other at the table, our forks barely scraping against the plates. She was quieter than usual, pushing food around, not eating much. I figured maybe it was stress from school or just one of those off days. After dinner, we sat on the couch. She tucked her legs under herself, eyes flicking back and forth like she was trying to find the right words in the air between us. "Mark," she said suddenly, "I need to tell you something." There was a pause. She looked nervous, hands clenched together. But even with that look on her face, I wasn't ready for what came next. "I'm pregnant." Time stopped. For half a second I froze. But then it hit me. And it hit hard. I felt my chest swell. like the room filled with light. My heart was racing, but in the best way. I looked at her wide-eyed, and all I could do was smile. "Are you serious?" I asked, barely breathing. "You're pregnant." She nodded slowly, eyes still unreadable. "Emily, that's amazing. Are you okay? Are you feeling all right? When did you find out?" My voice was rushing, full of energy. I couldn't stop grinning. "This is incredible. You know, I've wanted this. You know, I've talked about this forever. We're going to be parents." But she didn't react. Not the way I expected. She wasn't smiling. Her eyes were distant. Her hands trembled in her lap. I leaned in, trying to meet her gaze. "Hey, what's wrong? Are you scared?" "It's okay, I get it. But we can do this. I'll be here. We'll figure everything out." She bit her lip, looked away. "Emily, talk to me." She stayed quiet. I moved closer, grabbed her hands. "Listen, I know it's not perfect timing. I know I've been working a lot, racing, running the shop with Alex and Daniel, but this is what I've always wanted. A family with you." Still no reaction. Just that same look. Blank. Stuck. "Emily, please, don't shut down. If you're scared, I'll help. You won't go through this alone. This is my dream. I want this. With you." She pulled her hands away, and then she said it. Cold. Sharp. Final. "It's not yours." 3 words. Just 3. I stared at her, thinking maybe I'd heard it wrong. "What?" Her eyes welled up. Her shoulders tightened. "I said it's not yours, Mark." The air in the room vanished. Everything around me stopped moving. Her words bounced around in my skull, but I couldn't make sense of them. "What are you talking about?" She looked down. "You were always gone. Racing. Working. I was lonely." My pulse was pounding now, but I was frozen. "Who?" She hesitated, took a breath, then let it out like a punch to the throat. "Ryan. My brother." My whole body tensed. I stood up slowly, like I needed the ground to hold me together. "Ryan?" I asked, my voice barely there. She nodded. I backed away, running my hand through my hair, my jaw locked. "You mean to tell me, while I was out there killing myself trying to build something for us, you were sleeping with my brother?" "It wasn't planned," she whispered. "Oh, that makes it better?" My voice cracked. "That's supposed to fix this?" She said nothing. I stared at her, heart breaking, blood boiling, and everything we'd built. Every memory, every laugh, every night we stayed up talking about the future, just burned away in a second. And the worst part? I was still in love with her. I don't remember walking out the door. I don't remember grabbing my jacket, or if I even closed it behind me. All I know is 1 second I was staring at Emily's tear-streaked face, and the next I was outside, breathing hard, like the air had turned to smoke. I must have walked for miles that night. No phone, no destination. Just me, my heartbeat, and a city that didn't care what had just happened to me. I ended up sitting on the hood of an old junker outside the garage Alex and I used to rent back when we first started flipping cars. I stared at the cracked concrete under my boots, fists clenched so tight they hurt. How could she do that to me? And with him? I mean, Ryan? He was always the golden boy, the one who could do no wrong. Smiled big, said all the right things. But underneath that charm, he was a snake, and I was too damn blind to see it. He knew how much I loved her. He knew what we had, and he still made that choice. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't eat. I didn't cry either. Not because I wasn't hurting, but because the pain was so raw it felt like it hadn't found a way out yet. The next morning, I went straight to my parents' house. Ryan was there. Of course he was. He was sitting in the backyard, drinking orange juice like he didn't just tear my whole world apart. I stood over him. He looked up, casual, like I'd stopped by to borrow a wrench. "Mark," he said, like nothing had happened. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him. Looked at the man who'd taken everything from me and still had the nerve to sit in the sun and smile. "So," he said, leaning back, "I guess you talked to Emily." "You're not even sorry," I said. He shrugged. "It wasn't supposed to happen. But, come on, man. You're never around. Always racing, always working. She was lonely. You don't get to explain this, I snapped. You don't get to act like this is on me. I'm just saying. And then I hit him. One punch. Then another. Then I lost count. I heard shouting, my dad's voice. I felt hands pulling me off him. But I didn't stop until my knuckles were screaming and my brother was curled up, coughing on the grass. Dad pushed me back. Hard. That's enough, he barked. I looked at him, breathing hard, blood on my hands, sweat stinging my eyes. You knew? I asked. He didn't answer. You knew and you let him stay here? Ryan's your brother, he said. We're not doing this. I'm your son too, I snapped. And then Mom came out. I told her everything. Told her about the baby. About the betrayal. She didn't even flinch. Instead, she walked to Ryan, helped him up, brushed the dirt off his shirt. We don't always understand God's plan, she said softly. Maybe this was meant to be. I swear, I felt my heart tear in half right then. Meant to be, I repeated. You think this betrayal is some divine sign? You've always been the strong one, Mark, she said. You can handle this. He needs support. Emily needs support. I looked at both of them. My mother, my father, the people who raised me, and for the first time in my life, I realized I was completely alone in that house. They had chosen him, so I walked out. I didn't pack. I didn't look back. I was done. I crashed at Alex's place that night. Didn't even call first. Just showed up at his door looking like I'd been through a war. My shirt was ripped, my knuckles swollen and raw, my face tight with silence. He didn't ask questions. Just opened the door, stepped aside and said, You good on the couch or you want the guest room? That's the thing about Alex. He never pushed, never needed the full story to know something was broken. He could read pain in posture, betrayal in the eyes. I didn't say much that night. Just sat on the edge of the guest bed staring at the wall, my mind replaying everything on loop. Emily's voice, Ryan's smirk, my mom brushing dirt off his shirt like I was the one who ruined the family. It hurt, more than I expected. Not just losing Emily. It was the whole structure cracking, the life I thought I was building, the people I thought had my back. They were gone. All of them. But Alex? He stayed. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of tools clinking in the garage. He'd already started working on a rebuild we'd picked up weeks earlier. A busted '08 muscle car with potential buried under rust. Figured you'd want in, he said, sliding me a wrench without turning away from the open hood. And just like that, I was back at it. Not because I was ready, but because doing something, anything, was better than sitting still and letting the pain chew me alive. A few days later, Daniel showed up. My other brother. Not the one who stabbed me in the back. The one who kept quiet most of the time but always knew when to show up. He didn't say much either. Just pulled me into a hug and stayed there for a while. I hadn't realized how much I needed that until it happened. Then he said, You're not alone, man. Not everyone turned on you. And that was the moment I decided I wasn't going to let this destroy me. Not for Emily. Not for Ryan. Not for anyone. Alex, Daniel, and I got to work. Full throttle. We poured everything into the business, refocusing, rebranding, expanding. What used to be a side hustle became a full-time grind. We started flipping more serious cars. Word spread fast. We weren't just selling rides, we were building monsters. Street-tuned legends that turned heads and roared like demons. Money started coming in. Not crazy at first, but enough to matter. And every time I felt that old ache creep back in, the image of Emily's face, the sound of her saying, It's not yours. I pushed harder. Late nights. Long hours. More horsepower. Less emotion. The pain didn't go away, but I got better at drowning it. And somewhere in the middle of that grind, the nights got longer and lonelier. That's when it started. The women. Not love. Not even connection. Just company. It wasn't about chasing feelings. It was about silence. Distraction. Filling the space Emily used to live in with faces and voices that didn't ask for anything real. One night, I met a woman at a downtown bar. Carly. Long legs, sharp eyes, The kind of look that said she'd been broken a few times herself. We didn't talk much. Didn't need to. She came back to my place and stayed the night. In the morning, I couldn't remember what she'd told me about herself. And that pattern, it just kept repeating. Different names. Same ending. The kind of nights where passion burns hot, then vanishes like it never happened. It didn't make me feel better, but it kept me moving. I didn't want love anymore. I wanted control. And I found it in the garage, in the speed, in the way women would look at me and see someone untouchable. The world had taught me one thing. If you let your guard down, even for a second, someone will take everything. So I stopped giving anyone that chance. Back when Emily and I still believed in things, before everything shattered, we used to talk about New York like it was our escape hatch. Our shared dream. Not forever. Just a year, maybe two. She wanted Broadway and bookstores that stayed open past midnight. I wanted to race down FDR Drive at 2 in the morning. Engine howling between skyscrapers. Tires spitting rain across the city that never slept. She wanted jazz in Harlem. I wanted horsepower in Brooklyn. We both wanted the kind of freedom you only feel when the whole world is buzzing around you and you're holding the wheel. We used to say we'd rent some cheap place with peeling paint and a leaky ceiling, walk the High Line with coffee in our hands, and pretend we were bigger than the world. I used to think about that a lot, especially on nights like this one. 3 a.m. Garage quiet except for the soft hum of shop lights and the sound of a socket wrench echoing off the walls. My hands were greasy, back aching, but my focus was crystal clear. I was building something new, something fast, something untouchable. A twin-turbo machine we'd been tuning for weeks. Black on black, custom internals. It didn't just purr, it growled. And it wasn't just a car. It was therapy. Every bolt I tightened felt like reclaiming something I'd lost. Every weld felt like sealing shut the version of me that used to beg someone else for love. Alex and Daniel worked late with me that night. We didn't say much. We never had to. Just music low, tools moving, progress. By then, our shop had become more than a garage. It was a name. People in the city, especially the street racing scene, started throwing around our builds like currency. If it's a Carter build, it's untouchable, someone posted once. I screenshotted it and saved it. Not for pride. Just proof. Proof that I wasn't who I used to be. And that's when Haley came back into the picture. University royalty back in the day. Everyone wanted her. She used to walk campus like she owned the damn sidewalks. She found me outside the garage, leaning against the charger. Didn't think you'd actually make it, she said, giving me that half smile that used to turn heads. Didn't think you remembered my name, I replied. Flat. She stepped in close. Hard to forget someone who used to sit in the back of econ lectures, sketching engine diagrams on his notebook instead of taking notes. I didn't say anything. You know, she continued, voice dropping, I always wondered what it would have been like, you and me. Different time, different choices. I lit a cigarette, let the smoke hang for a second. I'm not that guy anymore. She smiled wider. Good. That guy was sweet. This one looks dangerous. That night she followed me back to the loft above the garage. One of those nights where there's more electricity in the silence than in the words. We didn't pretend it was more than what it was. She stayed, then left. When she did, I didn't feel anything. No regret, no satisfaction, just more silence. And in the middle of that silence, I remembered something Emily once told me. Back when we were talking about New York, about starting over, about chasing dreams instead of running from pain. She said, even if we never get there, I like that it's ours. And now that dream belonged to someone else. Because nothing we had was ours anymore, except the silence and the speed. The city knew my name now, not from school, not from family, not from anything clean or quiet. They knew me because I made noise, on streets, in garages, at midnight under broken streetlights where engines roared louder than apologies ever could. Business was booming. Alex, Daniel, and I had turned a side hustle into a brand. Our cars weren't just fast, they were dangerous. The kind of machines that made people move out of your way without needing to hear the engine. We built them like weapons, and the streets loved us for it. I barely remembered who I was before the betrayal. That soft, hopeful version of me that believed in porch lights and family dinners. That guy was gone. I killed him the moment I walked out of my parents' house with nothing but rage and a broken jaw full of silence. Now I was someone else entirely. I woke up when I wanted, ate when I remembered, slept only when my body shut down. I had a rotation of women who drifted in and out like smoke. Never the same face twice in 1 week. Maybe not even one night. Most of them I barely remembered in the morning. I didn't care to. But every now and then one stuck around for a little longer. Lila was one of them. She came into the shop asking about an upgrade for her coupe. Black leather jacket, confident walk, red nails wrapped around an iced coffee she didn't even sip. "You're Mark Carter, right?" she asked, like the name carried weight. "Depends," I said, without looking up. She smiled. "I heard your builds are untouchable." I raised an eyebrow. "Then you heard right." Lila wasn't like the others. She didn't just want the car. She wanted the builder. And not in a soft, romantic way. She wanted the version of me that didn't flinch. The version she saw in street videos, standing beside a roaring engine with smoke rising and eyes like frozen steel. We started spending time together, nights mostly. Long drives, closed doors, loud music, fast breathing. She'd crash at my place sometimes, curled up in one of my hoodies like she belonged there. But she didn't. Nobody did. One night she asked, "Do you ever think about settling down? Or are you planning to just keep burning pavement forever?" I didn't answer right away. Instead, I stared at the ceiling for a long time. When I finally spoke, my voice was quiet. "I think I burned that part of me out already." She didn't push. But the next morning, she was gone. No note, no message. Just silence. Same as always. And I didn't chase her. Because chasing wasn't something I did anymore. A week later, we were tuning a Camaro for a client when Daniel asked me, "You ever think about reaching out to them?" I looked up from the engine, face flat. "To who?" "You know who." I shook my head. "They made their choice." He didn't argue. He never did. Daniel was loyal like that. Quiet, thoughtful, never afraid to stand by me even when I was at my worst. He was the only one in the family who didn't flinch when things got ugly. That loyalty, it meant everything. Because these days I didn't believe in love. But I still believed in loyalty. Especially the kind that doesn't ask for anything in return. That night I raced. Quarter-mile, open street, 3-lane stretch with enough heat under the hoods to wake the whole block. I pulled up, windows down, engine humming low like a threat. Crowds gathered like shadows. Lights flashed. Money changed hands. And for 10 seconds, when the world blurred around me and the tires screamed against asphalt, I felt peace. Not happiness. Not healing. Just peace. Because at 140 miles per hour, nothing could catch me. Not guilt. Not memory. Not even her. Success is a strange kind of silence. It doesn't come with fireworks or loud congratulations. It just shows up one day when you realize you no longer need to explain yourself to anyone. The shop had grown into something serious. We bought out the warehouse across the street, expanded our crew, got contracts for custom builds, imports, private collectors. People were flying in from out of state to get their cars tuned by us. Carter Performance wasn't just a garage anymore. It was a name that meant something. I was doing interviews, showing up at underground events as a guest, not a racer, walking through crowds while people whispered like I was some kind of myth. And yet, none of it filled the space that used to be called home. The more I built, the emptier I felt. Like every new win was happening in a room I couldn't invite anyone into. Some nights I'd stare at my phone, scroll through names I didn't recognize anymore, people I hadn't spoken to in years. Sometimes I'd pause on Emily's contact, still saved under my girl, because I never had the guts to change it. I never called, never texted. I just stared, then locked the screen and threw the phone face down. That was the cycle. One night I met someone different. Her name was Sophie. She worked at a parts distributor we used for our premium orders. Sweet voice, smart, soft eyes that didn't try to cut into me the way other women did. She wasn't like Haley or Lila. She wasn't trying to tame me or tempt me. She was just there. Easy to talk to. Calm. After a few months of back and forth over orders and invoices, she asked if I wanted to grab a drink sometime. I said yes. I don't know why. We ended up at this rooftop spot downtown. The city lights were soft behind her. And for a second I let myself imagine what life could be like if I just let go. If I actually allowed someone close again. She asked about the shop, the builds, the scene. She asked about me, not just the image. And for the first time in a long time, I told someone the truth. Not the whole story, but enough. She smiled at the right parts, stayed quiet at the others. She didn't pry. We started seeing each other more. She came by the shop, met Alex and Daniel, asked smart questions about things I thought only gearheads cared about. And then one night, she leaned her head on my shoulder while we watched a dyno test, and I felt something dangerous, because it felt safe. Too safe. That same night, she asked if I was ever really done with the past. I didn't answer. Instead, I kissed her. Soft, slow, like I was trying to forget someone else through her. She stayed over. But in the morning, as she made coffee in my kitchen and laughed at something on her phone, I felt it creeping back in, that weight, that guilt, that wall. She turned to me, hopeful, like maybe this time things could be different. And I just said, "I'm not what you're looking for, Sophie." Her face fell. She nodded, said she understood. She left a few minutes later. No crying, no shouting. Just another goodbye in a long list of women who almost meant something, but didn't. And that's when I realized, it wasn't that I didn't feel anything. It was that I couldn't anymore. It started with a headline. A buddy of mine sent me a link late one night with just one message. "Ain't this your brother?" I tapped it half interested, expecting something dumb. But there it was, clear as day. Local investor implicated in crypto fraud scheme. And smack in the middle of the article, Ryan's name. He wasn't just involved. He was one of the loudest voices behind it. The Golden Boy had hyped some garbage crypto startup that promised life-changing returns. Turns out it was a house of cards. People lost thousands. Some even their entire savings. Among the investors? My parents. They had put in everything. Their retirement, the house, what was left of my college fund. All of it tied up in Ryan's brilliant plan. I sat at my desk in the shop's back office, the hum of the dyno still echoing through the walls. I stared at the screen, rereading the article until the words blurred. He burned them too. And now they were broke. Part of me thought, good, let it all collapse. But another part, a deeper, colder part, just felt numb. A few days later, my phone rang. The number wasn't saved, but I knew it by heart. My mother. I let it ring twice before I picked up. "Mark." Her voice was thin, weaker than I remembered. "It's me." Silence on my end. We've lost everything," she said. "The house. The money. We didn't know what he was doing. He told us it was safe." I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. "Now you get it," I said. "Mark, please," she whispered. "Your father's working nights at the diner. I'm trying to keep us above water. But we're drowning. We didn't know, I swear. We didn't mean to. To choose him over me?" She didn't answer, just breathing, heavy, ashamed. "We need your help," she finally said. "Please. You're all we have left." I didn't yell, didn't curse. I just told her the truth. "You had a son who would have done anything for this family, and you kicked him out like trash. Now you want him back because your golden child blew up the world you bet on." "I was wrong," she said, voice cracking. "We were wrong." "Yeah," I said. "You were." I ended the call. No theatrics, no rage, just finality. A few days later, Ryan called. That number I didn't recognize. He must have been using someone else's phone. I answered out of curiosity. "Mark," he said. "Look, I know I messed up. You think." I cut in. "I didn't mean for all this to happen. The crypto thing, it spiraled. People got greedy. I just thought. You thought you'd ride another wave while everyone else drowned. Story of your life." He went quiet. "I need help," he finally said. I almost laughed. You needed help the day you slept with my girlfriend and got her pregnant. Everything since then? That's just karma showing up late. Come on, man. I hung up. Let him sit in his own silence for once. They'd all made their choices. And now they were living with the bill. Me? I was still standing. Still building. Still burning pavement. And for the first time since the betrayal, I realized I didn't want revenge. I didn't need it. They were doing it to themselves. Her name was Riley. I met her at a track event just outside the city. One of those semi-legal nights where everyone pretended to play by the rules until the lights went green. She wasn't racing, just watching. She leaned against the fence with a bottle of water in one hand and a cigarette in the other, like she didn't belong but didn't care. She caught my eye because she wasn't trying to. No bright colors, no heavy makeup, just jeans, hoodie, and a look that said she'd seen too much to be impressed by loud engines and cocky guys. Later that night, we ended up back at my place. Same pattern. A few laughs. A little tension. Quiet hands. But afterward, she didn't leave right away. She sat on the edge of the bed, legs crossed, staring out the window like she was waiting for something she couldn't name. I hated my dad, she said suddenly, voice low. For most of my life. I looked over, surprised. She wasn't looking at me. He walked out when I was 7. Never called. Never sent a thing. Then, 10 years later, just showed up like nothing happened. Wanted to take me to dinner and talk like we were buddies. She laughed once, bitter. I tore into him. Told him he was dead to me. That he didn't get to play father just because he was bored or lonely. Silence. Her fingers twisted in her lap. He died 2 years after that. Heart attack. Alone. She looked at me then, and her eyes were raw. I thought I'd feel nothing, but I still think about him. Still wonder if I should have taken that dinner. I didn't say anything. Not right away. Then, some people don't deserve a second chance. Maybe, she said, but sometimes we need to give it anyway. For ourselves. She stayed the night, curled up next to me like she belonged there. But I didn't hold her, because her words stuck with me in the worst way. She was haunted by what she didn't do, and I was haunted by what I refused to. The next morning, she kissed me on the cheek and left without asking when she'd see me again. That was the kind of woman Riley was. Too real, too close, too late. Later that same day, my phone buzzed. Emily. First message in over 2 years. Can we talk? I stared at it for a long time. I didn't answer. Not yet. But I knew what was coming. She wanted something. They all did. And this time, I wasn't the same man who used to say yes just because I loved her. That man died a long time ago. Emily showed up at the garage 2 days later. No call. No warning. Just her standing there in the parking lot, like some chapter 1 thought I'd burned had crawled back from the ashes. She looked different. No makeup. No polished front. Just jeans, a hoodie, and eyes that carried too much weight. I could tell before she even opened her mouth. This wasn't some casual drop-in. She had something to unload. I was under the hood of a Charger, tightening bolts, when Daniel nudged me and nodded toward the bay doors. I looked up, and there she was. I wiped my hands on a rag, stepped out into the light, and faced her. Didn't expect to see you here, I said. She forced a small smile. I wasn't sure I'd actually come. Silence stretched between us. She glanced around the garage. You've really built something. It's impressive. I didn't respond, just waited. I'm not here to cause problems, she said. I left Ryan a while ago. He got worse. With money, with people. The crypto thing broke everything. I should have seen it coming. I nodded once, slow. I came to say I'm sorry, she said, voice cracking a little. For what I did. For not standing by you. For choosing him. For not fighting for you when you were the only one who ever did for me. She was crying now, quietly. I don't expect anything from you. I just needed to say that. I took a breath. You broke something I can't fix, Emily. And I'm not angry anymore. But I'm not yours anymore either. She nodded like she knew that already. Like she'd known it for a while and just needed to hear it out loud. And I didn't stop her when she turned and walked away. The next morning, my mother called. Her voice trembled. "Mark," she said, "your father's gone. Heart attack. It happened last night." I stood in the kitchen, phone to my ear, staring at the floor. It didn't hit right away. It was just a sentence floating in the air with nowhere to land. She asked if I would come to the funeral. I told her no, not out of spite, not to make a point. I just couldn't. I hung up before she could say anything else. And I've regretted that every single day since. That night I was behind the wheel, out on the highway, no destination, no music, just the engine and the wind. People always say speed is about running away. They're wrong. It's about feeling alive. It's about control in a world that keeps trying to rip it away. And in that moment, flying down a stretch of empty road under a bruised sky, I wasn't thinking about Emily, or Ryan, or my father. I was thinking about the silence I'd earned, the one I'd built myself, the kind that doesn't need anyone to understand it. Just the road, just the engine, just me.